Imagine this, you're sitting across from a woman who once seemed like everything you wanted. Her smile had you hooked. Her attention felt like oxygen, and her approval made you feel alive. But now, something has shifted. She leans back, her eyes colder than before, her replies shorter, almost dismissive. She withholds warmth, and in that silence, you begin to panic. You rack your brain, searching for what you did wrong, replaying every word, every text, every moment, desperate to get back to the version of her who once seemed so enchanted by you. That's the trap Schopenhauer warned about, the brutal truth that shook men in his time and still hits like a punch today. He stripped away the romantic illusions and exposed what most men refuse to see. Attraction isn't built on your effort, your begging, or your blind devotion. It's built on dynamics, power, and whether or not you can resist being enslaved by your own need for her validation. Schopenhauer was hated for saying what no man dared to admit out loud, that many women, beneath the sweetness, played the game of control, and most men fell for it blindly. You might not like hearing that. It's easier to believe in the fairy tale, the pure love story where she cherishes you for your soul. But have you noticed how quickly her love changes once you overinvest? Once you start chasing too hard, replying instantly, rearranging your schedule just to keep her interested. Suddenly, she's not grateful, she's bored. Suddenly, she tests you, she withholds. She watches you squirm to prove yourself. And every time you chase harder, she respects you less. This is exactly what Schopenhauer meant when he said that men destroy themselves by worshipping illusions. Think about your own life. Have you ever been in that moment where her silence drove you insane? You sent one more text, thinking maybe she didn't see the last one. You offered to pick her up, pay for dinner, plan the weekend, anything to win back her affection, and the more you gave, the less she wanted. That's not bad luck. That's not you being too nice. That's the psychology of power imbalance. Once you've made her the center of your emotional world, you've already lost her. Why? Because attraction thrives on polarity. She can only desire you if she feels your strength, your independence, your ability to walk away. And when you collapse into neediness, you destroy the very thing that pulled her to you in the first place. Here's the part most men miss. Women know this game instinctively, even if they can't articulate it. When she pulls back, when she delays replies, when she suddenly seems too busy, it's not always accidental. Sometimes it's a subconscious test. She's measuring whether you're a man of composure or a man of desperation. Will you spiral into over-texting, pleading, buying her love, or will you step back, breathe, and let her absence reveal her true level of interest? That's where your power lies, in your indifference, in your ability to let her silence echo without trying to fill it with your panic. And here's where Schopenhauer's brutal clarity becomes useful for you. Right now. You must stop assuming that her emotions will stay loyal if you overfeed them. You must stop believing that constant effort guarantees security. In reality, your willingness to detach, to maintain mystery, to not react when she pulls away, that's what forces her to respect you. It's not flowers. It's not endless reassurance. It's not being available 24/7. It's presence with restraint. It's knowing that your value doesn't rise or fall based on whether she's warm or cold today. That unshakable core, that's what makes her look at you differently. That's what makes her wonder what you might withhold from her and why she suddenly craves to pull you closer. So if you're caught in this trap right now, if you feel her slipping away while you try harder and harder, the first tactical move is this: stop chasing. Don't send that follow-up text. Don't call just because you feel anxious. Let the silence stand. Detach. Not to punish her, not to play games, but to reclaim your own balance. The man who can sit in uncertainty without losing his composure is the man who always wins. And when she feels that you won't collapse just because she pulls away, that's when she realizes she can't control you. That's when respect returns. That's when attraction reignites. Now ask yourself honestly, have you ever been in that exact moment where you knew you were losing her, and instead of holding back, you tried harder? Did it work, or did it make her colder? Which one of these toxic behaviors have you faced before her silence, her withholding, her tests? Be specific in the comments. And tell me what's the hardest part for you about walking away when you feel her slipping. You've probably felt it before, the sting of realizing you gave everything, only to find yourself discarded like it meant nothing. That gut punch comes when you discover the woman you adored wasn't impressed by your loyalty, your gifts, or your constant availability. Instead, she drifted toward the man who barely seemed to care, the one who didn't bend, who didn't chase, who stood in his own world while she tried to step into it. And you're left asking yourself, why does she run toward indifference but pull away from devotion? Schopenhauer's answer was cruel, but it cut to the core, because raw attraction has more to do with power than with fairness. Think about it in any dynamic. The one who needs the other less always holds the upper hand. If you've ever been at her mercy, waiting for her call, desperate for her smile, then you know the pain of giving up that power. You surrendered your freedom, your edge, your calm, and in that moment, you weren't her equal anymore, you were her servant. Schopenhauer's words were meant as a slap to wake men up from that dream. He wanted to break the illusion that devotion alone creates love. Because what most men never realize is that women don't test men with words, they test them with absence, with mood swings, with sudden shifts in attention. And the man who reacts, who pleads, who overcompensates, exposes himself as weak. That's when attraction dies. You might think this sounds cynical, but look at your own history. How many times did the woman you wanted most seem to withdraw right after you invested the heaviest? Maybe you told her how much you missed her, only to get a cold reply, "I've been busy." Maybe you bought her something thoughtful, and instead of gratitude, she seemed unimpressed. And maybe, deep down, you felt it that she lost interest the moment you made her your priority. That isn't an accident. It's a psychological trigger. Because the moment she senses you'll do anything to keep her, she no longer has to value you. She knows you're locked in, and what's easily secured loses its shine fast. The practical lesson here is simple but not easy. Your attention must remain scarce, even when you're drawn to her. If you pour it out too freely, it floods her, and she feels no hunger for you. But if you hold some of it back, if you remain partly out of reach, then every smile, every word, every glance you do give her carries weight. Think of it like supply and demand. If she can get all of you at any time, there's no urgency, no excitement, no chase. But if she has to wonder, if she has to work a little for your presence, that uncertainty drives her to lean forward, to invest, to prove herself worthy of you. So what does that look like in action? Let's get tactical. When she delays responding to your message, don't double text. Match her energy. If she takes hours to reply, you don't jump back in seconds. You wait. When she tries to provoke you with subtle digs, don't defend yourself. Frantically smile, shrug, or even ignore. When she pulls back, affection, don't rush to fill the void with gifts or attention. Instead, lean into indifference. Carry on with your life. Show her that her coldness doesn't shake you. And most importantly, when she tests your boundaries, when she cancels last minute, when she tries to manipulate your time, don't reward it. Pull back. Show her that her behavior has no power over your peace. The truth is, You've probably made the mistake of thinking you could win her back by overgiving. Every man has. But ask yourself, did it ever work? Did flooding her with attention, apologies, or reassurance ever make her more attracted to you? Or did it just delay the inevitable? The reality is that women don't crave men who give them everything. They crave men who make them earn it. Men whose approval feels like something worth keeping. And that requires you to build a spine to resist the urge to collapse, to sit in discomfort without losing control. That's the kind of man who commands respect. That's the kind of man who pulls desire instead of begging for scraps. And here's the irony: you think she'll leave if you stop overgiving. But in reality, she leaves when you do. When you start chasing, when you start proving, when you show her you can't live without her, that's when she loses the very desire that brought her close. Your silence, your calm, your refusal to be manipulated, that's what keeps her there. Not your gifts, not your constant validation, not your sacrifice, just your unshakable presence. So I want you to look back at your own experiences. Have you noticed the pattern, how she pulls away when you overinvest? Have you ever been caught in that cycle of chasing harder as she slipped further? And most importantly, what's the one behavior you need to stop right now to take your power back? There's a moment every man eventually faces. It's that gut-deep realization that she doesn't respect you anymore. Not because you cheated, not because you failed her, but because you made the mistake of handing her your power on a silver platter. You stopped being the man she had to work for, and instead became the man who worked for her approval. And here's the brutal part: once that respect is gone, love follows close behind. That's why Schopenhauer's view stung so deeply. He was pointing at a truth most men don't want to admit. Women are drawn not to your sacrifices, but to your strength. Let's be clear, strength doesn't mean dominance, yelling, or trying to control her. It means the quiet force of not collapsing when she pulls away. It's the ability to hear her say, "I don't know how I feel about us right now," and not beg her to stay. It's walking through the storm of her moods without losing your center. That's what she actually craves. Not a man who bends over backwards, but a man who can stand tall no matter what she throws his way. Because when you crumble, when you get frantic, when you start proving yourself, you kill the very tension that attraction needs to survive. You've seen this play out in your own life. Maybe she started nitpicking, complaining about little things you never thought mattered, and instead of standing your ground, you rushed to fix them. You thought, if I just do this right, she'll be happy again. But the more you corrected, the more problems appeared. Or maybe she grew distant, and instead of stepping back, you drowned her with attention texts, calls, constant checking in. And what happened? Did she come closer, or did she slip further away? That's the proof right there. The more you chase, the more she runs. The more you surrender your backbone, the more invisible you become to her. So how do you flip the script? By building detachment as your weapon. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means not depending. It means you enjoy her presence, but you don't collapse without it. It means you listen to her words, but you don't let them dictate your sense of self. It means you can walk away, not because you want to, but because you refuse to beg. And once you embody that, everything changes. Suddenly, she's the one watching you. She's the one wondering if she still has your attention. She's the one investing again because she feels the edge of maybe losing you. And that edge is the fuel of attraction. Here's the tactical play: the next time she withdraws affection, don't scramble to fix it. Match her pace. If she goes quiet, don't chase noise. If she delays her replies, don't rush yours. If she tests your patience, don't explode, smile and step back. When you refuse to react, you shift the frame. You show her that her games, whether conscious or not, won't move you. And the second she realizes she doesn't control you, respect creeps back in. Respect reignites desire. That's the law of polarity, and you break it every time you beg. But here's what makes it even harder. You have to face the fear that maybe she will leave if you stop chasing. That fear keeps most men trapped. They think, if I don't fight for her, she'll disappear. But the truth is, she's disappearing because you're fighting too much. The harder you try to hold her, the more suffocated she feels. What keeps her is not your desperate grip, it's your willingness to let go. That paradox is what separates men who keep attraction alive from those who watch it die. And this is where Schopenhauer, for all his bitterness, was right. Most men don't fail because they lack love. They fail because they lack the discipline to withhold. They don't understand that desire thrives in the space between closeness and distance. They either smother or they neglect. But the man who can give just enough, then step back into his own life, is the man who stays magnetic. He's the man she can't quite figure out. The man she keeps coming back to because she never fully possesses him. So think about it right now. Where are you overinvesting? Where are you giving more than she's earning? Where are you afraid to pull back? Because you think losing her would break you. And here's the mirror you can't avoid. Would you rather keep bending until she leaves anyway? Or build your spine and let her feel the weight of your absence? Picture this, you're sitting alone after another fight, staring at your phone, half tempted to send that one last text to smooth things over. You know she's wrong, but you feel that gnawing urge to reach out, to patch it up, to make her smile again. You tell yourself it's about love, about peace, about being the bigger man. But if you're brutally honest with yourself, you know what it really is. It's fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of silence. Fear of being left with nothing. That fear is what Schopenhauer ripped open with his words. He said men suffer because they let themselves be ruled by that fear, because they give women power over them that no one should ever hold. You see, when you act out of fear, you're no longer in control. You're negotiating against yourself. You're agreeing to terms you'd never accept if you weren't terrified of being abandoned. That's why so many men end up trapped in toxic cycles. They tolerate disrespect, coldness, even betrayal, all because they're scared to walk away. But here's the paradox: the more you cling, the more you lose. Every time you fold, every time you sacrifice your dignity to keep her, she sees it. And once she sees you'll accept anything, her respect dies. Without respect, attraction follows right after. Think back to a moment when you felt that shift. Maybe it was subtle. She rolled her eyes at you in front of her friends, and instead of calling it out, you laughed it off. She cancelled on you last minute, and you swallowed your frustration, telling her it was fine. Or maybe it was bigger, she flirted with another guy, and you told yourself you didn't want to seem insecure, so you stayed quiet. In each moment, you thought you were protecting the relationship. In reality, you were eroding yourself. And the more you erode, the less of a man she sees in you. The tactical shift starts with drawing a line. You must decide what behaviors you will never tolerate, no matter how much you desire her. That line is your backbone. If she crosses it, you don't argue. You don't plead. You don't explain endlessly. You withdraw. You create consequences not with yelling, but with silence. You show her with action that disrespect closes doors. That's how you train her subconscious. Not with lectures, not with emotional explosions, but with the cold clarity of boundaries. And here's the kicker: when she realizes you won't bend, that's when she leans back in. That's when she chases again. But boundaries aren't just about her, they're about you. You need to rewire your own psychology so you no longer confuse comfort with captivity. Because when you cling, you're not clinging to her, you're clinging to the version of yourself that's afraid to be alone. That's the wound you're really fighting. And until you face it, until you embrace solitude as strength, You'll always hand over your power to anyone who threatens to leave. That's why detachment is so important. It's not a game. It's not manipulation. It's freedom. Freedom from needing her validation to feel worthy. Freedom from the panic that makes you compromise. Freedom from the illusion that losing her means losing yourself. And here's what happens when you master that freedom. She senses it. Women feel it instantly. The man who is calm, composed, unshaken, that man is intoxicating. She might test him. She might withdraw. She might throw storms his way, but deep down, she craves him because he's the one she can't control. He's the one she can't predict. He's the one who keeps her desire alive, not by trying to hold her, but by refusing to be held hostage. That's the paradox Schopenhauer wanted men to understand. What makes her love you isn't your constant sacrifice, but your refusal to surrender your essence. So the next time you feel that panic rising, the next time you're tempted to overreach, stop, sit in it, breathe through it. Don't react, don't collapse. That's your training ground. Every time you resist the urge to chase, you build muscle. Every time you choose silence over pleading, you harden your edge. Every time you walk away instead of negotiating your worth, you grow stronger. And strength, not sacrifice, is what keeps a woman's eyes locked on you. Now think carefully. When was the last time you betrayed yourself just to keep her happy? Have you ever let disrespect slide because you were scared to lose her? And if you're honest, what's the one fear that still keeps you chasing instead of standing your ground? Have you ever noticed that the men who seem to keep women hooked aren't always the best looking, the richest, or the most charming? Sometimes it's the quiet guy in the corner, the one who doesn't chase, the one who never seems rattled when women test him. He isn't frantic to prove himself. He isn't obsessed with pleasing, and yet women circle around him. Why? Because he carries the one quality Schopenhauer insisted most men lack: detachment. He doesn't collapse when a woman withholds affection. He doesn't drown in despair when she pulls back. He moves with a sense of inner security that makes her feel both frustrated and fascinated. And that tension, that inability to fully claim him, is exactly what keeps her invested. The problem is, most men sabotage themselves the second they feel connection. They think the way to keep a woman is to pour out more, to double down, to become her everything. But what they don't realize is that overexposure kills attraction. When she can predict you, when she knows you'll drop anything for her, when she feels your world revolves around her, she loses the very spark that drew her in. And here's the irony: she won't tell you this. She won't say, "Stop giving me everything." She'll just get colder, more distant, until you're left confused, wondering what you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You just gave too much. You smothered the flame instead of letting it breathe. This is why Schopenhauer's view was considered brutal. He stripped away the illusion that devotion guarantees love. He reminded men that attraction lives in the push and pull, not in the constant flood of giving. You need to let her feel uncertainty. You need to let her wonder if she still has your attention. Not because you're playing games, but because it forces her to keep valuing you. The second she knows she owns you completely, her investment drops. And when her investment drops, so does her desire. Here's how you apply this in your life. The next time you feel the urge to text her because she's been quiet, don't. Wait. Let her reach out. When she throws a test your way, sarcasm, mood swings, a cold shoulder, don't react. Shrug it off. Keep your calm. When she tries to pull you into drama, don't wrestle in the mud with her. Step out. The less you react, the more she realizes she can't shake you. And the man who can't be shaken is the man who gets respect. That respect is the foundation for attraction that lasts. Without it, you're just another guy she grows tired of. But this requires something harder than tactics. It requires building your own world so strong that no woman can ever be the center of it. You need goals, passions, routines, friendships, disciplines that are untouchable. Because when you have that, you're not faking indifference, you're living it. You're not pretending to be busy, you actually are. You're not trying to act mysterious. You genuinely have things going on that she isn't part of. And that's what makes you magnetic. She wants in because she sees you won't collapse if she walks out. She feels your independence in every interaction, and it both frustrates her and excites her. That's when she invests more. That's when she competes for you. But here's the hardest truth: some women will leave when you enforce this. They'll leave because they can't control you, because they can't own you, because they realize you won't bend into their frame. And you need to be okay with that. Because every time you compromise your core to keep a woman, you pay with something more valuable than her presence. You pay with your self-respect. And without that, even if she stays, you'll feel empty. You'll feel like a shell. That's why detachment isn't optional. It's survival. It's the only way to keep both her respect and your own dignity intact. So the real question isn't, will she stay if I stop chasing? The real question is, am I willing to let her go if she doesn't respect me? That's where your power is born. Because the man who fears loss will always be controlled. But the man who embraces it can never be broken. Now, I want you to confront this directly. Have you ever been that man who built his entire life around a woman, only to watch her slip away? What's harder for you, losing her, or facing the fact that you lost yourself trying to keep her? And right now, what would change in your life if you finally decided to stop being afraid of letting her go? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.